Hello everyone. Here's another video from Data Experts, and today's video is on permission modules in Databricks and Unity Catalog. Databricks is basically a unified data analytics platform where Unity Catalog provides fine-grained access control for data governance, data lineage, and user management, etc. And the importance of permissions basically is to manage permissions on a user group and so on. And that is to ensure data security, compliance, and efficient collaboration among users. And there are basically uh, bits, that is on workspace level, or notebook level, or cluster level, or job level if you have to run a job, right? And starting with workspace level permissions, basically there are two types actually. One is admin, or another one is user. And you can create service principal as well, but in terms of admins and users, these are the two types. And basically, workspace level permissions is to, for example, if you're an admin, right, you can have permissions like you can add a user, create a user, remove a user, and so on, and assign specific permissions to that user. And user is just like you are the user uh, whom the permissions are assigned to, right? And the second type of permissions is notebook level permissions. This is basically to either view a notebook which is in a workspace, or to have edit permissions. You can, run some commands inside the notebook and so on. This is mostly for collaborative work. And the third type is notebook permissions. The third type is cluster permissions. And cluster permission is basically, for example, if you have a permission to create a cluster. All right. You have you basically have a permission to create a cluster. On top, you can go granularly as well. That is, you can specify for a certain user, for example, create a cluster permission. But on top, you can give permission like he can only create a specific amount of RAM, storage, and so on. So that while he was trying to create a cluster, he can have permission to create on that powerful cluster only. So this is basically to save cost and so on. And the fourth type is job permission. This is basically to execute a job or automate a task, spot cluster and so on. Uh, the and coming to Unity Catalog, right? If the workspace has Unity Catalog enabled, then you have these permissions additionally, which you can give to users and so on. For example, there is catalog level permissions, then schema level permissions, and you can even give permission to a user on a table or a view level as well. You can go that granular. And the way that these permissions work is, on top there is metastore, for which only admin has access. Then comes catalog, right? Inside catalog, you can give permissions, the schema, that catalog, and all the tables and so on. And come then there is a database or schema, which is the same thing. If you give permissions to a specific user on a schema level or a database level, then those permissions will be applied to all the tables or views or modules or functions, whatever they are, that are sitting inside that schema, right? But the one thing you need to remember is, if you are giving a permission to a schema, you need to give a permission to of something called use catalog to that user as well, because the schema is sitting inside the catalog. If the user doesn't have a permission to use that catalog, right, he cannot get anything from those permissions that are given to him on a schema level. And there are, inside the schema or a database, there are tables or views or modules or functions, volumes, anything. And on them you can give permissions as well. That's the granular level. One thing you can remember here is, uh, if you give permission to a specific user, right, on a table level, that will override the permissions to the same user that is given on a schema level, right? It goes from top to bottom, sorry, bottom to top. And if there are permissions that is given in a schema level, right, all then it will override all the other permissions that you may specify on a catalog level. That's how it works. And the way you give these permissions or manage these permissions is you can either use Databricks interface, or you can use SQL commands in workspace in a Databricks notebook. For example, some popular commands include grant, revoke, show grants. This is a way to show grants is a way to see what are the permissions that you have inside that schema or notebook level, and so on. And before going to best practices, I have a small demo. So this is how the Databricks notebook workspace looks like, right? And I'll just show how you can create a metastore first. You can, use this HTTPS command, that is Azure, sorry, accounts.azuredatabricks.net, right? And coming to that, you can open this, and there are a few things here. One is workspace, the other one is catalog, the other one is user management, and then cloud resources, right? If you're coming to workspace, right, what are the workspaces that are attached to this metastore that will be listed here? You can go into that and take the details. And coming to catalog, right, here it will be showing the metastore that you might have created. If you don't have a metastore, uh, the admin will be creating it. Everyone doesn't have access to it. But in a workspace environment, there will be a metastore which is sitting on top of some external cloud storage. For example, here I am using Azure Cloud. So this metastore is sitting inside a Azure Databricks, sorry, Azure Data Lake inside a container. For example, if I open this, this is the ABFS path that I have specified when I created this, and I'll be the admin here. You can assign a group as well. That's the best practice actually. But for the demo, I have created myself as a user, sorry, as the admin. But coming to workspace tab, here you can assign any workspace to this metastore, to use this metastore, right? The one thing you have to remember is they should be in the same region. If there are like 10 workspaces, sorry, there are like 10 workspaces, five of them are in different region, that is not in the same region that you used while you created the metastore, right? You cannot assign them. They should be sitting in the same region. And the reason that you do this is to store the managed tables, right? The main reason that you have a metastore is to have a centralized location where you store the managed tables for all the workspaces that are sitting inside that metastore, right? And there comes the user management. Here I have created some demo users to just show how they will be looking. Here I'll be the admin, and there are three types here. You can, you know, uh, use this user management to perform some tasks. One is user, the other one is service principal, and the third one is groups. In the groups, basically, it's like assigning multiple users to that group and give permissions to that group so that all the users that are sitting inside that group will be sharing those permissions. Instead of going to each user and giving the same permissions, you can create a group. uh, this is the basic overview. But now coming to the actual workspace, here you can see so here's the tab called catalog, right? Here you'll be so these are the works. Here you can see all the notebooks, and here this is the catalog tab where you'll be shown all the catalogs that you have. If your works, so basically one thing you need to remember is even though you create a workspace which is in a premium level, if that will be having a metastore, but by default it will not be assigned to any metastore. The admin should be assigning that workspace to that. If the admin has assigned, here you can see under which metastore it is sitting, the name and details and all, right? And I have created two catalogs. One is demo and the other one is demo catalog 2, right? To show the permissions, what I have done is for this first demo catalog, the user is different. I'm not the user. Sorry, I'm not the owner. Now, in this case, for example, right? If I There is no tab called create schema, right? Inside this catalog, I cannot create a schema. That is the reason is I don't have necessary permissions. For example, if I go to my own catalog, right? Here I am the user, I'm the owner. Now I have the create schema tab. So what that means is if you don't have permission, you cannot do certain tasks. That is where you can manage for a certain user what he can do, what they like what they can do, right? F- Now I went to the demo catalog. Inside that, if I open the permissions tab, here you can see what are the users and their permissions, right? And to which workspace that they got assigned to. That is, there may be multiple workspaces that are sitting inside a catalog, inside a schema, right? But it's not the case like all the users will be having access to all the workspaces. There might be different teams who has some specific work that should be shown to only those teams, right? What you can do here is, even though they're sitting inside the same catalog, you can come here, you can untick this, and then you can assign only those workspaces that a specific user need to be accessed. So you can select this and just click assign, and then what happens is that that workspace will be assigned to those permissions so that that user can only do that. Now you can see, because I untick this, I don't have necessary permissions to access this catalog. The reason is this is I'm not the owner of this catalog, right? I only have select commands. That's the reason. And coming to my own catalog, there so inside a catalog there will be a schema, right? So this is a schema, and inside schema you can create a table or a volume or a model, sorry, or a function, right? So you can create them, and on a table level as well you can give permissions, right? So for example, if I open this table, you can see what permissions do I have. Because I'm the owner, I have all privileges on this, and the details on the table, for example, whether the table is managed or external, what's the location that the table got stored, and who is the owner of it, when did this table got created, and so on. And because this is a Unity catalog enabled workspace, you can have data lineage and insights. The data lineage is basically the track of where the notebook is, what's the workflow, in what pipelines the table is being used. This will be helpful when you are doing debugging and on. And yeah, this is basic overview. And one more thing I want to stress on is, for example, I'll just do a demo on that. For example, this is my catalog, right? I went to workspaces. For example, if I say assign to workspace, if I just click all workspaces, right? Then what happens here is every user that are having access to this workspace, right? This catalog will be able to access all those workspaces, right? So it's always a best practice to do least privilege access control. That is only give permissions to a user that are necessary, right? And one more thing inside the catalog tab is if if your workspace got Metastore enabled, right? Then you will by default have few of these things, that is system, sample, main, and high Metastore. So what is high Metastore is? It's basically the local Metastore for that workspace. Each workspace will be having a single Metastore, high Metastore, sorry. So before Unity Catalog came into picture, this is where all the managed tables by default will be stored, right? Inside the high metastore. Now what happens is all these high metastores are combined into one, where you create a metastore, which I showed here. So every managed table that is being created inside a workspace that is assigned to this metastore will be saved in this location that the admin will be specified, right? So that's the overview. And what are few of the best practices that I could suggest? One is least privilege principle, right? That is ensuring users have the minimum access necessary for those roles. And the second thing is do regular audits, right? Periodically review and update permissions to maintain security and compliance. This is very important. And the third one is documentation. Keep detailed record of permission changes and configurations for transparency and accountability. The reason is at some point you will have hundreds of workspaces and thousands of users who will be having specific permissions to specific workspace. if you don't have a detailed record of permissions and the changes that are configured to a specific user, it will be very hard to manage, right? And that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching. And if you have any questions, please leave a comment and we'll try to get back to you as soon as possible. And please like, share, and subscribe in YouTube and LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Thank you so much.